So folks, for station 5, we need to look at how or if two lines are parallel or perpendicular. So we took 2 days to talk about this. Just a quick recap if you need to off to the side here. If they are parallel, then the slopes, all you have to do is check the slopes, and the slopes are going to be the same. Okay? The slopes are going to be the same. But what about if they're perpendicular? So if they're perpendicular, instead of being the same, they're going to be two things. They're going to be opposites of each other, so positive and negative, and then they're also going to be reciprocals of each other. That means that they are going to flip. The fraction is going to flip. Top's going to go to the bottom, bottom's going to go to the top. So let's take a look at this first one. If we ask you if these two lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither, we have to identify their slopes. Well, these are already in y equals mx plus b form, so here are their slopes right here. So my slope for this one is positive 7. My slope for this one is negative 7. So think about that for a second. Are those the same? No, they're not the same because 7, 7, true, but one's negative, one's positive. That's a very different slope. And then are they reciprocals? Definitely not. So this answer here would actually be that they are neither. They are neither parallel nor perpendicular. Okay? So try this next one on your own. See if you can identify the slopes and then tell me whether or not they are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. Press pause, give that a try. All right, so hopefully for this first one, you're going to identify your slope. Your slope is negative 4 over 3. There's our slope there. For the second one, identify our slope of this second one here. That one right there is positive 3 divided by 4. So what do you think, parallel or perpendicular? Definitely in this case, let's see. This one is positive, this one is negative, and they've flipped each other. You see how they are flips? They're the flipped version of one another. So that meets our two criteria over here. These are definitely opposite reciprocals. So because they are opposites and reciprocals, our conclusion is these two lines are perpendicular. All right. It's a fun word to say. All right. So perpendicular lines. Let's keep trying. Let's keep working. Hopefully that's making sense to you. Next one. Number 3, parallel perpendicular. These right here, tell your neighbor. Slope here is 5. Slope of the second one is 5. So our conclusion is parallel. Paralelo. That's how you say it in Spanish, in case you cared. Number 4, write an equation that is perpendicular. So we need our line to be perpendicular. Underline, highlight that to the equation, and we give it to you here to the equation y equals 1/3 x minus 9. So this is going to take a little bit of work. Really should have left myself some more space. What we're going to need to do is we are going to need to find our new slope first. We talked about this a couple of days ago. There was 4 steps. Step number 1, which is a different color. Step number 1 was to find our new slope. So what is that new slope going to be? Well, before we can get a new one, we need to know the old one. What was the old slope? Our old slope was 1/3. That was our old slope. So the opposite reciprocal of positive 1/3, this one's positive. Our slope here is positive. So the opposite of that is negative. And then if you flip a 1 over 3, you end up with a 3 over 1. So our slope is simply negative 3. There's our new slope. All right, step 2. Step 2 is to start plugging everything into blank equals blank times blank plus b. So let's start plugging in. And if we plug in, we're left with negative 3 goes right in the middle. That's our new slope. All right. And then it gives us a point. Do not forget about this point over here. This point is our x and our y. So now we know what to plug in for x and y. my x is -2, and my y is +6. So if we simplify, let's go ahead and simplify. This leaves us with +6 equals +6 again, plus b. That was a +6 because -3 times -2 gives us +6. I'm going to squeeze this last piece in here. My last piece is to actually subtract over the 6. But think about what happens there. When you subtract 6 from 6, you're left with the fact that b equals 0. So now we know our two most important things in order to create an equation. Our first is that our slope is -3 and our b is 0. So that creates our equation for us. Our answer is, slide it in here, our answer is y equals -3x. And technically there's a +0 there, but we don't need to really write it. I'll just write it in case, just so you don't forget it there. Okay? Last one for station 5. Last one for station 5. We now want an equation of the line that is parallel, not perpendicular, goes through this equation, goes parallel to that equation, and goes through the point 6, -1. So our last piece here, what's our new slope? Just like we did before, our new slope has to be the same as our old slope. Well, our old slope was -4, so no change in that, stays the same. Step two is to now find that b value. So blank equals blank times blank plus b. Let's go ahead and plug in. My new slope was -4. And what's my x? What's my x and my y? My x and my y are right here. So my x is 6. You probably can't see that. It's neon green. Let's choose a different color. My x is 6. And my y is -1. Time to simplify. Let's simplify. So if I simplify, we're left with -1 equals -24 plus b. Let's solve for b by subtracting 24 over. Excuse me, not subtract 24 over, add 24 over. So we're going to add 24 over. 24s cancel out. So last but definitely not least, our b value is equal to -1 plus 24 gives us 23. So your final answer is y equals -4x. There's your slope, -4 times x, plus our b value. We just found it. It's 23. So plus 23. There's station 5, guys. Pause it, rewind it, watch it over again, ask each other questions, work hard. Got to do that on your test.